is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media, Incorporated.
So we have the Chargers, Commanders, and Rams. They clinched playoff spots, along with the Chargers, and the Broncos did not. Well, we'll break all of that down. Week 17, and we will preview Week 18. Up next, this is Total Football Talk. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of Total Football Talk, the 70th edition of said program. I am one half of the co-host of this show. That is Cole Johnson. I am the mad scientist, the EP extraordinaire, and the EP of all EPs. I will be momentarily joined by the other co-host of this program, the one who is Mr. D. Will in the evening, Mr. In-Out Sports Debate, and the now excited going to the playoffs Commanders Grind Report. And now he has at least one extra one he has to do, maybe more. The other co-host is D. Willie, or Drew Willingham. We will have him come on board momentarily. But for now, we got to get to a lot of stuff, break down what was in Week 17 and what is to come in Week 18 of the 2024 NFL season. And let's break down what was in Week 17 in opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready!
Now, we already knew what happened Wednesday. We don't have to go over that. We may later on. Now, Saturday. That is where we will start. That's right. So Saturday, we had 3 games that we had to play. We will touch on 2 of them now. And before we do touch on that, the man that we call Victor Locke, or VLock A3, or the one and only Victor Locke. Says, good morning, TFT tribe. Congrats to all those who have made it to the dance. I bow to Sensei Drew Willingham and the EP of EPs, Cole Johnson. Welcome back, Cole. Thank you, sir. Glad that you are a willing participant of this wonderful program of ours in this little corner of our world, our football world. And hopefully you will enjoy what we will unveil today. Now, I think we'll begin with, let me see, how can I describe this game? Yeah. The NFL need to be smacked. Why I get why the Chargers were put on center stage, a win and they were in. I get that. But they were going to Foxborough to play the moribund Patriots. Wow. We could have had them play on Sunday and had them be buried amongst other games, but this started off the Saturday slate. 40-7 was the score, final score. The Chargers, of course, go into the playoffs quite easily. They yawned their way in the playoffs because the Patriots put forth very little fight, if at all. Justin Herbert probably played the best game of his year. 28 of 38, 281 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries for 12. J.K. Dobbins, okay. 19 carries, 79 yards and a rushing touchdown. He also had a reception for 7. The Chargers offense, paced by Dobbins and a little bit of Herbert running. They chewed up 147 yards on the ground. Ladd McConkey, who he's really coming to his own this year, being a reliable target for one Herbert. 8 receptions, 94 yards, and 2 of those 3 touchdowns that Herbert threw. On the defensive end, Derwin James Jr., man, it's been a long time since I've heard this name. He, for a few years, was considered the linchpin of the defense for the Chargers if he just could not stay on the field. He contributed mightily to their playoff clinching win. 2 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, a fumble recovery, and 2 sacks. The man was active. And Derwin gave the Chargers 2 of their 4 sacks in the game. Not to be outdone, Cameron Dicker, the kicker of the Chargers, he was 4 of 4 for field goals. And on the other end, you had Drake May, who his steady progress is shown. There is some things about him that makes you say he actually might be a good future QB in the league. All they have to do is fit him with a line and some talent. 12 of 22, 117 yards and a touchdown. He did have 6 carries of 32 yards on a lost fumble. Hopefully, the Patriots can take care of him and build around him with offensive line. Hopefully. But this was about the Chargers. They from start to finish dominated this game. They understood the assignment, and now they are in the playoffs. Now, here's what's tricky. They're in the playoffs in what seeding? Well, currently, I believe they are the number 6 seed. However, if things were to fold in certain ways, like the team ahead of them, Steelers, like if they were to lose next Sunday and the Chargers were to beat the Raiders in Vegas, that means the Chargers would be the number 5 seed and not the number 6. Interesting times ahead. All right, let's skip to the nightcap, shall we, of Saturday. The Rams in SoFi hosted their divisional rival Arizona Cardinals. They had get back for them and revenge for them since they got stomped in the desert 41-10 in week 2. Well, they got their revenge, but it was not an easy time of things. 13-9 was the final score. The Rams struggled, as they really have offensively ever since that game against the Bills. Ever since that offensive explosion happened in that game, they've been struggling to score points. But their defense has been up to the task, and they have forced other offenses to struggle to score points against them. Matthew Stafford, 17 of 32, 189 yards, very uneven performance, but he did the one thing that he needed to do and has not turned the football over. He also had 6 carries of 16 yards. Puka Nacua was being a busy man. 10 receptions, 129 yards. He basically was moving chains all night long for the Rams. On the defensive end, Brandon Fisk, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. He paced away for the Rams to put Mr. Kyler Murray on the ground 4 times. And speaking of Kyler Murray, he was busy throwing. Unfortunately, he just was inerrant. 33 of 48, 321 yards. He did have a touchdown pass to Trey McBride, but he threw a Cameron Kitchens interception and, to seal things, a Kello Witherspoon INT when the Cardinals were driving with 1 minute to go. Tip ball was in the air, in the end zone, and it fell into the diving arms of, or hands, I should say, of Witherspoon, right at the pylon. Oh, well. He also had 4 carries for 32 yards. Michael Carter, on the ground, 13 carries for 70 yards. He also had 2 receptions for 11. The aforementioned Trey McBride, I mentioned the touchdown. He also had 12 receptions for 123 yards. And Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions, 96 yards. And hopefully this group of Cardinals can grow and be better. They, of course, fall to 7-9, and they were eliminated before this game began. The Rams, well, they improved to 10-6, and they became willing participants of everything that broke down in the weekend to come. All right, let's get to Sunday, shall we? So the Bills, they came into Highmark Stadium, because I keep wanting to call it Bill Stadium so bad, but Highmark Stadium, needing a W, their last regular season home game of the year, needing a W to secure the number 2 seed. Of course, number 1 seed's out of the grasp because the Chiefs secured that on Christmas Day for themselves with their 29-10 victory over the Steelers. The Bills summarily decided to whoop up and whoop down on the Jets, 40-14. The score was 42-0 before the Jets decided to even notch a point on the board. Josh Allen, uneven performance for the second week in a row. 16-27, 182 yards, 2 throwing touchdowns. He also had 5 carries and 17 yards and a rushing touchdown. The Bills defense, they were active. I mean, they were getting after Mr. Rodgers and his neighborhood. 8 tackles for losses and 4 sacks on the day for them. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, 12 of 18, 112 yards, a Christian Benford interception and a Jordan Phillips interception, and a benching under a partridge tree. Yeah. Yeah, he got benched in lieu of Tyrod Taylor, who he may not have thrown for as many yards, but he actually was a lot better. 11 of 14, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 2 carries for 6 yards. To put it plainly, simply, and succinctly, the Jets are horrible. And the Bills, well, now they're ensconced at number 2 seed. I mean, they can't drop and they can't get to the number 1 seed. So more than likely, when they travel to Foxborough, you will not be seeing many of the players that played in yesterday's game suit up next weekend. Why? It would not matter to them. So congratulations to the Bills. They already clinched the AFC East. They clinched that back in November. The road would go through them in Western New York unless they got to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So congratulations to them. But of course, they don't get a bye. They host a wild card game as well. So they host a wild card game and a divisional round game. All right, let's get through this one really fast. The Raiders, they beat the Saints 25-10. Aiden O'Connell, 20-35, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries for a yard. Amir Abdullah, who you have not heard him all year long, but he's getting some love considering the Raiders are, I guess, trying to fight for not having a number 1 overall. 20 carries, 115 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 32. 115 yards that Abdullah put him on the ground. That was part of a 156-yard rushing attack that the Raiders amassed. But their defense was even better. They put Spencer Rattler to the turf 4 times, and they had 9 pass defenses. Oh, and Daniel Carson, the kicker of the Raiders, 4 field goals. His long was from 54. And speaking of Spencer Rattler, he was 20 of 36, 218 yards, a touchdown, and a Thomas Harper INT and a Jack Jones interception. He also carried the ball 3 times for 46 yards. And basically, Rattler rushed for 2/3 of the Saints' rushing total, which I believe it was like 63 for the day. So, no, not 2/3, 3/4. Pitiful. You should not have your quarterback run for that amount of yards and be that focal of a point for your offensive attack on the ground. I digress. Let me get off my soapbox Oh, Lord. The Raiders, they improved to 4-12. The Saints, they dropped to 5-11. Yeah, that game is. All right. Another game that was bull and shoe ugly. I will be kind to one Mr. Locke. His Cowboys, they went to South Philly, and they really didn't give a crap about being there. Let's be honest. The Eagles had their way with the Cowboys, 41-7. I mean, the game began on a C.J. Gardner-Johnson 70-yard pick six off of the arm of Cooper Rush. That is how the game began. So that pretty much was a portent of things to come. Kenny Pickett, he started the game and did decent, other than having a meme-like moment with the nickel pass. Oh my gosh. 10 of 15, 143 yards and a touchdown. He also had 3 carries for 3 yards. Unfortunately, he had to pull himself out of the game due to aggravated rib injury. Tanner McKee, who got his first NFL action, he did not throw the ball much, did not need to throw it for much. 3 of 4, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns on his arm. He also carried the ball twice for a -2 yards, because the star of this game was Saquon Barkley, 31 carries, 167 yards. He did not score a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions of 2 yards, but the 167 yards is key because he needed 162 to get to the magic number of 2,000 yards. He did do that on his last carry. And he got basically a wonderful curtain call, which you rarely ever think you'll see from Philly fan, but Lincoln Financial Field chanted MVP as he walked off the field, which he deserves. And I'll even go on record as saying, to me, Saquon Barkley is the MVP of this year. He's not going to get the award because the MVP, unfortunately, is the quarterback's award, which that sucks because it to me goes against the understanding of valuable and most valuable player. Because guaranteed, if Barkley didn't get 2,000 yards for him, the Eagles would not even be sniffing the NFC East Championship, which they are. They would not even be close to having an outside chance, which I think now it's just about killed, of being the number 1 seed in the NFC. To me, that is what an MVP is. And to me, Saquon Barkley is 2024's MVP. I don't need to see week 18 for that, for me. But that 167-yard effort from Barkley, it gave the Eagles 179 yards on the ground. Devontae Smith was balling in this game, 6 receptions, 120 yards, and a couple of receiving touchdowns. Now, I mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson, of course, the corner for the celebrated corner for the Eagles. He also had another interception. But as I said, the game started on a 70-yard pick six from his hands and his legs. Cooper Rush, 15-28, 147 yards. He thought C.J. Gardner was a receiver for the Cowboys because he threw it to him twice. He did have a touchdown pass. He also carried the ball twice for 2 yards. I will say this, Cowboys fan, you should be excited because it looks like the team, strategic-wise, seems to be high on one Rico Dowdle because they've been feeding him the ball ever since the middle of November, and he seems to have taken to the extra load. 23 carries, 104 yards. He had a reception for 4 yards. He did have a lost fumble, but I think if you're going to see any type of silver lining for your next season, you might actually have one of your running backs that could possibly take you to a further distinction in place than 7-9, which that's what they are now. The Eagles are 13-3, but I really do say congratulations to one Saquon Barkley. He, to me, is the most valuable player for the National Football League in 2024. But you know it's going to go to either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or both. Lord. Panthers, Bucks. I really want to do this so bad. But I want to give you equal representation. The Bucks, they hosted the Panthers. Of course, the Bucks are fighting for their NFC South divisional championship lives. So they needed this game and they need the following game even to have a chance. So, of course, they put forth their best foot, and they put a foot in the Panthers behind 48-14. Baker Mayfield, he had his best game as a pro. And I am not saying this from hyperbole. I'm saying this for real. 27 of 32, 359 yards, and 5 touchdown passes. He also had 2 yards. He should frame this performance because that's exactly how he should play. Like that. Mistake-free, and you spread the ball. Of course, it helps, though, if you have a rushing attack spawned by Bucky Irving. The rookie has really come on. 20 carries, 113 yards. He also had 4 receptions, 77 yards. He was busy all over the place, getting you almost 190 yards total of offense. But Irving starred in the rushing attack for the Buccaneers that got them 202 yards on the ground. Yes, I know it's the Panthers, but look, the Panthers are one of the 32 NFL teams. You got to take advantage of them if they're horrible. And the Buccaneers took advantage of them as moribund as they are. Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 97 yards. He had 2 of those 5 touchdown passes that Baker Mayfield threw. The other 3 was spread out. The Buccaneers defense, they didn't want to be outdone in this party. They unfortunately put that young Bryce Young to the turf 5 different times. 5 different guys put him on the turf 5 times. Who he was 15 of 28, 203 yards. He did have 2 touchdown passes. He did not make a mistake. He didn't throw the ball, didn't throw an interception, did not turn the ball over on a fumble. He also had 2 carries for 8 yards. He just simply was outmatched. And the only other person that went along with him for the Panthers, Adam Thielen. Yes, I know he still exists. 5 receptions, 110 yards, and both of those touchdown passes from Bryce Young. Let me see. Well, that puts the Panthers at what, 3-13? No, I'm sorry. My bad, 4-12. Season so bad I can't even recall what their record is. But I do know the Buccaneers. Theirs is 9-7, and they were waiting with bated breath on Sunday night's game. Bated breath. Well, speaking of bated breath, that is what I wasn't doing in watching the Jaguars host the Titans. In fact, this game was so bad for this whole one, it's going dumpster Pelican. 20-13 was the final score. The game wasn't that close. The game wasn't even that interesting. Mac Jones, 15-22, 174 yards, and two throwing touchdowns. He also had 6 carries for 22. Brian Thomas Jr., who that's been the only bright spot for the Jaguars. 7 receptions, 91 yards, and one of those 2 touchdowns. On the defensive end, Devin Lloyd. He got a pick of one Mason Rudolph, who was 19-31, 193 yards, a touchdown, and that aforementioned interception. He also had 5 carries for 23 yards. Ty J. Spears, who he's come on as of late, and his effort was wasted. 20 carries, 95 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 8. And Calvin Ridley, 5 receptions, 84 yards in the air. He also had a carry for 7 yards. Good Lord. The Jaguars approved the 4-12. The Titans, they fall to 3-13. And watching this game made us all take the all right, more Sunday games. There was a few. In fact, there was only 2 that happened in the afternoon. The Browns hosting the Dolphins, and people were hoping that the Dolphins would freeze their way to an L. the Browns are just that horrible. 20-3 was final score. The Dolphins really did not play all that hard and all that well, but they didn't need to because the Browns are just that bad. Of course, Tua did not play. Tyler Huntley played in his place and did really well, actually. 22 of 26, 225 yards, and a throwing touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown on seven carries for 52 yards. Tyreek Hill, nine receptions, for 105 yards. Defensively, Tyrell Dotson gave you a pick of one Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Yes, I know Jameis Winston was not starting. He's been pulled for the rest of the year just to have Mr. Thompson-Robinson play out the string. 24-47, 170 yards, and that aforementioned interception. He also had a lost fumble on 4 carries and 10 yards. Jerry Jeudy, once a Bronco, now Brown, 12 receptions, 94 yards. This is what sucks for me. Myles Garrett, as crappy as the Browns is, this man is still putting in work. 4 solo tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 of the Browns' 4 sacks. Say what you will about the Browns, you can't say that Myles Garrett sucks as a football player because that dude is doing the job. Unfortunately, he just has many who aren't doing the job with him. The Browns, they fall to 3-13. The Dolphins are crossing everything, fingers, toes, and eyes, as they improve to 8-8, and they hope for a scintilla of a shot at the playoffs and that number 7 seed. Now, what was hyped as the game of the week, the Minnesota Vikings in the Twin Cities hosting their rival Green Bay Packers, the last regular season home game for the Vikings, went the Vikings' way. And this game went similar to how when they played back in, I think, September or early October. The Vikings rushed out to a double-digit lead. The Packers feverishly stormed back in the game, got within 3 points, actually got within 2, attempted an onside kick, and the Vikings won the game. Well, that pretty much was the formula for this game. Except they didn't do an onside kick, did the Packers in this game. They straight up kicked the ball to the Vikings, hoping for a defensive stop. They didn't get it. 27-25 was the final score. 29-27 was the final score of that game in Lambeau that the Vikings also won. So they swept the Packers. Poor Packers. They got swept by the Vikings and the Lions. Otherwise, they only have lost 1 game against any other competition. Whew. Wow, that's brutal. Sam Darnold on 33 of 43, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 mistake. A very enlightening, very athletic Carrington Valentine interception. He also had 3 carries for -3 yards. Justin Jefferson, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and the defense was rolling the coverage his way, and he still got none of this. Jalen Naylor, who I think was the beneficiary early of the heavy coverage in Jefferson's direction, 5 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. On defense, Blake Cashman, 6 solo tackles, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, and a sack and a half. He was a busy man in this game. Vikings kicker Will Richard. I feel for the dude. I mean, he was trying his best. He did make a long of 50 yards, but unfortunately, he had a 55-yarder that was just a wee bit short, and a 50-yarder that kissed the left upright and bounced forward. Tough luck for him. On the other side, Jordan Love, 19 of 30, 185 yards, and a touchdown. He also had to carry for 6 yards. Now, this is what I have to say about this particular game. Matt LaFleur, you lost this game for your team. 4th and 2 on the Vikings 25 in the second quarter. You're down 7-3. You decided to go forward instead of to kick a 42-yard field goal. So you didn't convert the 4th down. The Vikings marched down the field. They kick a field goal on that ensuing drive. You would have loved for those 3 points, wouldn't you? Otherwise, you would have had a 28-27 victory. But no, you're dumb. We need to gamble behind, ruin the game for them. That's what you get. Gambling and losing. 11-5 is what the Packers fall down to, and they may have fallen further than they would like. We'll touch on that momentarily. The Vikings, they improved to 14-2. Right now, they hold the second best record in NFL and the best record in the NFC. That's because the Lions haven't played yet, but we'll touch on that later. Now, I really wish I had my part. In fact, I'll put a pause on that for a quick second. Mick, what's up? It's good to see you, my man. It is good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Unfortunately, for the next game I'm going to say, it's going to hurt your heart because your team really got the ding because of it. Snowman, he says, good morning, Snowman, checking in from Indiana and working well. Good. A shout out to the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. A shout out to Sensei Drew. Well, thank you, sir. And there's many who are saying that, yes, you all agree that Barkley's the MVP, but they're probably going to push the award either to Lamar Jackson or to Josh Allen. I agree with you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour. The man is too sweet to be sour. That's right. The man has arrived. Mr. In or Out Sports Debate. Mr. D. Will in the Evening. Mr. Commander's Grand Report. In fact, he is beaming from ear to ear because he has more Commander's Grand Report episodes to make for the 2024 season. Welcome, D. Willie, or Drew Willingham, my other co-host of this program and my brother to the program. How are you? How are you?
It is a great Monday morning to be off of the throne and back on the show because we have some great football action that we have to discuss on this morning.
And your timing is absolutely impeccable, sir, because we are actually going to break down the Falcons Commanders game. Look at how God works and look at how you work. You came in right at the time that I wanted you to come in on because I did not want to do this one solo. So this was a nip-and-tuck game. You could say that both teams made their fair share of mistakes, but in the end, doesn't matter. The Commanders came in this game needing a win to go to the playoffs. This win also would secure the NFC West bag for the Los Angeles Rams, and it would summarily eliminate the Seahawks, which the 30-24 in overtime game did. The Commanders beat the Falcons in a thrilling game in Landover. Jaden Daniels, 24 of 36, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, and I think that was in the second quarter, and he was rushing his butt off. 16 carries for 127 yards. In fact, he paced the way for that bruising Commanders offense to grind out 216 yards on the ground. And the touchdown to get them that lead, that warmed my heart, brother. Olamide Zaccheaus. Now, you can get on him for the drop that he made in the fourth quarter, but he really had a good game. In fact, this is a career game for me in what I can ascertain from him. 8 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a carry for 8 yards. Let's go to Michael Penix Jr., who he already had an NFL start under him, and he did wonderful. In his second start, in his first road NFL start, it was uneven, but he came up clutch when necessary. 19-35, 223 yards. He had a touchdown, but he also threw a pick to Quan Martin. He also did carry the ball twice for 3 yards. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he saw a snap sail over his head. Ooh, when they did not need it. 3 carries for 8 yards. 3 receptions for 8 yards for him as well. Drake London paced away receiving-wise for the Falcons, 7 receptions for 106 yards. The Vikings defense put Jaden Daniels on the ground 5 times, and the interception that Jaden Daniels threw, he threw that to the arms of Caden Ellis. Your thoughts, sir, on the Commanders clinching a playoff berth with the 30-24 victory of the Falcons.
So with this game right here, the Commanders would have clinched a playoff spot, whether they would have won the game or tied
it. Right.
Because that was also in the cards, later into the game. Later, once we got into overtime, when they took that time out, there was discussion about how they could be playing for overtime here. Well, there were a lot more cards at play when it came to how this game was going to pan out, because JD had his struggles in this game. He had his struggles last week against the Eagles. And Zacchaeus, like you said, this was probably one of his career best games, and he was playing against his former team. He's playing against,
I forgot he was a Falcon. That's right.
Yes, he was a Falcon for a little bit. And he comes back. He didn't come back. They come to him, and he, last week against the Eagles, I would say he had his career game, and then he topped it this week, because last week he had 5 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. And helped the Commanders with the comeback win over the Eagles. This week he only has 1 touchdown, but he does enough damage within 8 receptions, getting 85 yards and 1 touchdown. The one big piece that I would have to say, and this is somebody who contributed who don't know how much longer you're going to have him around, because he's getting older, and even with some of the things he said post-game, which I'll get to in a second, Zach Ertz.
The same thing.
Zach Ertz, 6 receptions, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. With what he did there, post game, he's talking about playing with Jaden Daniels at the end of his career. So what does that mean? Is this a one and done year for him in Washington? Does he have another year or 2 left? But for what he did, Zach Ertz, literally when they made the call, when Chris Collinsworth said it, he carried the team into the playoffs. The catch that carried the team into the playoffs. But the truth is that there has been somebody that's been carrying this team towards the playoffs, and it's not Zach Ertz. It is the one that Northwest Stadium's crowd was chanting MVP at the end of the game. And he's definitely not the MVP this year, but he is going to be the Rookie of the Year. He will be
MVP,
the NFL Rookie of the Year.
Commanders.
And if Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen didn't exist this year, and potentially Joe Burrow, then you would have your best shot. Because I would say, I think Jaden Daniels is in the top 5 for voting for the MVP potentially, and that's even
I can see that
with Derrick Henry and Saquon.
I can see that top 5. I can see that. Yeah,
Joe Burrow, even if he leads the Bengals into the playoffs, you have to look at the fact that JD has had 2 come from behind wins, one with the Hail Mary, the other one with that drive last week against the Eagles in less than 30 seconds left in the game.
And the touchdown with 10. Goodness gracious.
And this week counts because it was an overtime. And it was their first overtime game of the year. It was the Falcons' second overtime game of the year, because they have gone into overtime with the Buccaneers earlier in the season. And won that one. So now they're 1-1 in overtime games. But the big contributor here was Jaden Daniels, 24-36, 227, 3 touches, like you said. He did throw the pick early on in the game, but the one thing is, he coughed, but he persevered. He persevered, and he came back, which it shows a lot of poise, a lot of things that quarterbacks of the past didn't do the greatest job of. Once they started turning the ball over, that pretty much wrote the rest of the story for the rest of that game and how that was going to go. So, let's say later in the game, Chris Rodriguez Jr. was a big contributor with that late scoring touchdown.
He was huge.
His numbers don't say a lot, but that doesn't always speak volumes for what happens.
Doesn't matter.
But the one thing that did speak volumes is that your quarterback had twice the amount of rushing yards that your number 1 running back did. That is one thing that concerns me going into the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
You need to hope that you play the Rams in the first round, and we'll talk more about that later on. You, as much as you don't need to play your starters for the entirety of the Week 18 game, I still think it's important that you win that game.
Yeah, you need to win that game,
because that getting the 6th seed is more important than getting the 7th. I think you can beat Philly in the playoffs, but I don't think you can beat them in the first round. I just think that By the time the first round comes around, Jalen Hurts is going to be fine. Well, hopefully,
Right. Hopefully.
hopefully he'll be fine.
Yes. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Be
because
fine.
for their sake, because Kenny Pickett is not going to carry them to the Super Bowl. There's no way that's going to happen. Kenny Pickett absolutely is terrible. But the one thing I can tell you is that if the Commanders get the Rams the first round and it's the 3 versus the 6, I really like their chances.
I like that matchup better. Yeah.
I'm sorry, playmaker, but when it comes to the
Yeah.
defense on offense matchup for both sides, I like it. And they just need a break from the Eagles for a week or two. If I don't think that they're going to make it to the NFC Championship, but I want the best case scenario to, if they do make it to the NFC Championship, the only way they're making it to the Super Bowl this year is if they play them in the NFC Championship and things happen to go their way in ways that I can't even predict at this time. But I don't even think we're going to even get close to that. I think that they face the Rams in week 1 in the wild card round. They can win. More than likely get thumped in the second round because you'll still probably you'll be the lowest seed around still at that point, and you'd have to
You
face
might have to go
the
to
Lions
Lions
or
the Vikings. Ooh.
Yeah, either one of those two.
Yeah.
So there's a it's that's why I say if for your chances this year and for the momentum, I really want to see them face the Rams in the first game. But we'll see how things pan out for this team going forward. But right now, from what I saw, this Commanders team, in the past month, rattling off these wins like they have, since the Hail Mary game, the Bears have been struggling with 10 straight losses. And
Sad. Yeah.
over the past month, the Commanders now have 4 straight wins. Since they lost to the Cowboys on November 24th, they beat the Titans, the Saints, the Eagles, which finally last week, they beat a team that's over 500.
Right.
Because I've been preaching that for quite some time. You even reached out to me and said afterwards that I can now rest easy with that one, because that's been my biggest gripe all season long.
Yep.
Is the fact that this team was winning, but they were winning against subpar teams and, in my opinion, had an easier schedule to get to that point. But it doesn't matter now, because you faced the Eagles and then you faced the Falcons, who, with Penix, they got a very bright future.
I love how he looked.
Those
Oh my
fourth
gosh.
down plays that he was making on that last drive in the fourth quarter to get it to where the game was tied. He made that turnover earlier in the game, but then he bounced back. He bounced back to where they had a 14-7 lead, and then it got to 17-7. It was a 10-point lead the Falcons had. I wasn't sweating it, though. I was like, you know what? With what they've done and how they've come back throughout certain points of this year, and Penix is still fairly new to the starting rotation over there, I'm not sweating it, and I'm glad that I stayed calm, because even though it got crazy at the end, I just had a feeling, based on what I saw in person with the Hail Mary game, and then last week with the Eagle game, I knew that even though it could go the other way, I wasn't sweating it, man.
I wasn't sweating the 17-7 deficit either. My only issue about that was, I was like, doggone it, Commanders, you're committing too many penalties. You're shooting yourself in the foot. And if you stop shooting yourself in the foot, you actually would have an easier time with things. And you'd probably be closer in the second half, because I think you have a bead on what the Falcons want to do. You just shoot yourself in the foot. And I'll be doggone, they actually stopped shooting themselves in the foot second half. And man, the defense stepped it up. The offense stepped up the physicality in the second half. I was like, now this is how they're going to be tough 25 and forward. Oh man, the Commanders are going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough out, because I loved seeing the grittiness that I was looking at with that offense. I was like, man, they're punching the Falcons in the mouth. I'm loving it. And Daniels is unafraid to punch him in the mouth too. I'm like, wow. Now, do I want him to have the rock that many times running? No, I don't. But I do like the fact that the physicality of the offense overwhelmed the Falcons front four. And when I saw how they seemed to sell into the game and they took the game over, I'm like, okay, now this is why I figured that they were not going to actually be routed. Because I was like, okay, the is that the Commanders they were making their own mistakes, and they stopped making mistakes. They control this game, and they did, man. But yeah, all I have to say is the poise that I saw from two rookie QBs in a Week 17 game. It just goes to show how good of hands this league is in, because
I don't
Penix, wow, and Daniels, woo, man.
I don't recall another time when this late
Man.
in the season that we had two quarterbacks featured like they were rookies in prime time with a game or two left in the year. Like with week back then, it would have been week 16, week 17 with 16 game season. I don't even recall that when we had Andrew Luck and RG3.
Nope.
Which the numbers that Jaden's put up this year are better than what RG3 did in 16 games, because
it was.
You know, again, people can put asterisks all they want to with 17 game seasons, but the fact that these players are doing it within 16 games. Now, there can be arguments that are made to the Eric Dickerson record because of it is 101 yards, and Saquon. It's going to be tough to see how that goes down this upcoming week, because people are still going to want to reward Eric Dickerson as the number one because he did it in less games.
6 games, yeah, he did it in 16 games.
Because you're still 101 yards behind, and I think that games like when they faced the Commanders last week, and when he had another tough game, I forget against who earlier in the season, when you look back at those games right there, those are going to be the ones that cost him the Eric Dickerson Championship, if you want to call it that, for the running yards in a season. But when I look at that, and I look at what Jaden Daniels has done, most of the time when you look at a quarterback's numbers at 227 yards, it's like, all right, good job, it's good, but it's not like 300 and 400 yards. But when you see a quarterback that throws 220 yards with 120 rushing yards,
right?
That's like throwing for 350 passing yards. So, but the Commanders' offense, collectively between Robinson and Jaden Daniels, and Rodriguez, like you have up here, over 200 plus rushing yards in the game.
Yards on the ground.
With Zacchaeus' contributions again for a second straight week, with what they did on special teams. You could take away that interception into the game, but you take away the interception, it's clicking on all cylinders for the most part, except for those running backs. And I think that Austin Eckler's injury and what he brought to the rotation as a pass-catching running back, I think that's affecting this offense a little bit more, because as we look at this throughout the weeks, we look at this Commanders team, it has been not as effective in the running game, unless you look at Jaden Daniels, since Eckler went down.
That's a really good point, because I have seen less purposeful passes into the flat or screens that involve running backs. I've seen a lot less of that with the Commanders since Eckler has been out. So that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
And the fact that even though they gave up 2 touchdowns to Bijan Robinson, the fact that they kept him under 100 yards.
That's a big time plus, because that is what the Falcons want to do offensively. They want to batter you with Robinson. Yeah.
I don't remember the exact way that I said it, but even last week when I was rolling solo, I was talking about, if they can keep Robinson under 100 yards, which I believe they will win this game. It was something along those lines, and they did. I didn't think it was going to go to overtime. I would say this: the clock management by the Falcons needs to improve. It was definitely
that pisses me off.
Yes, their clock management was not good, but yet this is a very young team. You have a quarterback who's starting his second, third game, or playing his second.
Yeah, I think playing his third, starting his second. Yeah.
So Jaden has played in every single game this year. He's played in 16 games at this point. He had 14 games of a head start over Penix. Even though they both play college ball, I'm just saying, for the game speed, for the flow, the chemistry within your own team, all those things play a factor. But at the same time, that goes on the head coach and the quarterback. Because the head coach is communicating throughout the earpiece, can also take timeouts. I was screaming at the TV.
That's where I'm angered.
Yes, I was even screaming at the TV at the Commanders in the fourth quarter when it was down, even though it didn't really matter at this point. I guess they were thinking because of the length of the kick, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you have a timeout and it's down to 2 seconds in the fourth quarter, and the other team has a chance to win the game. If Koo was in the game and wasn't hurt, they would have lost this game. The Commanders would have lost this game if Young Ho Koo, whatever his name is, Young Wei, would have been in the game. But because of his injury and because they have somebody who's been with this third different team, the Jets, I believe it's either the Jets and the Packers.
Third different team like in the same month? Because I think it says like one game, 1 week, one game, another week. I was like, dang, he's been bounced around.
Yeah, the Jets, the Packers, or it's either the Jets and the Saints, or the Jets and the Packers, and then now the Falcons. And looking at this, it was a pretty long kick.
Yeah, it was.
The way the camera angle was, it did it on purpose. They were trying to mess this.
It was online.
Guy made the kick, and they took. It's like you could tell, and I was like, man, for somebody who works with cameras and stuff, that makes me mad. Because they got me. They got my expletive.
Well, that's not supposed to do it though.
but yeah, they did, and the kicker missed it, and that was good. And then of course, with the Commanders winning the toss, that was big. There was huge momentum shift, just like when you would text me about that yesterday with the touchdown and just with the way things were going towards the end. It was going in their favor.
It was,
and it worked out, but. There was definitely some things they need to clean up. As far as for the team that we were just talking about with the Falcons, they got to work with their clock management because for the playoffs and for the football fans' sake, I think it would be better for the Buccaneers to make the playoffs again and win this division, just because that way the Falcons can end this season healthy and can get started with their offseason moves to fully build their locker room. And when I say that, meaning move on from Kirk Cousins, move him somewhere else to where he can benefit and still get his play, and let Penix take over. But I don't think that's hurting them now. But them collectively as a unit will be better if they can just start into the 2025 offseason, because the Buccaneers are the better team of the South.
Yeah, it's looking more and more that way. And I dare say for me, just how I was looking at it, how the Falcons attacked that last drive of regulation, that made me say the Buccaneers are the better team in the South. Because, and yes, I'm saying this with the fact that I've actually by proxy of actually being boys with a Commanders fan, I'm rooting for the Commanders. Just like you said, as a football purist, I'm looking at this game. I'm seeing a wonderful throw that Penix made. I think it was a Drake London. And it was complete near midfield with 34 seconds to go. And then the next time the clock stops is with 12 seconds. I'm like, how in the world could you brainlessly, and I wasn't yelling at Penix. I was looking directly at Raheem Morris, the head coach of the team. I was like, how could you mindlessly let 22 seconds tick? I'm like, you're near midfield. You need to have at least you need to have your offense understand that they gotta get at least 20 yards downfield, maybe even 25, and you could do that with 3 plays to get a winning field goal. I'm like, why would you waste that time? I was so heated because I was like, oh man, come on. This is a mistake you cannot make. And I'll say it right now, Raheem Morris, I love you, brother, but you cost your team the NFC South with that play. With that coaching decision, you cost your team the NFC South. You did, because I do not see. I can't even see the I can't see Tampa losing to the Saints at home. I can't see it. But you cost your team. You cost your team NFC South. That frustrated me. Otherwise, that was a great game I saw Sunday night. But man, I was so heated when I saw that. So heated. But and it's good, and that's a good point, and I agree with you. The Falcons, they dropped to 8-8, and they may drop completely out the playoffs. They still have a shot, but they gotta pray though now that the Bucks lose to the Saints at home, and then they could beat the Panthers at home, and they'll be the NFC South champs. But I sort of agree with my partner. I think they need to need to wave the surrender flag and see the NFC South to the Bucks because they are the better team and they're playing better. Meanwhile, the wonderful Commanders, they are 11-5. They are in the playoffs, and not just that, they now own the 6th seed. So all they need to do is beat the Cowboys in Arlington, and they will be more than likely playing against the Rams in the wild card, not the Eagles. And I do agree with you on that too. I think even though they probably match up well against the Eagles, I would not want them to match up with them because I think they would be a little more physically demanding for the Commanders to actually overcome and take a victory, to get a victory, and they're playing them for a third time this season. Versus a team in the Rams where, yeah, they're pretty good defensively, but I think they can make hay against them. And I think the Rams on the other end, they've been having issues executing on offense other than Stafford to Nakua and sometimes Stafford to Kupp. The running game is an up and down. So I think the Commanders stand a much better chance against the Rams. But congratulations to the Rams because of that victory by the Commanders, they're now the NFC West champs. So you have that.
Shout out to Playmaker.
Yes, shout out to Playmaker. Shout out to you, Mr. Daniel Try. I agree with you. As for the Seahawks, and as for the Seahawks, unfortunately, that W forced them out the playoffs altogether. Yeah, nice try, but it just wasn't in the cards. And now. Now, this wasn't even close. There wasn't a game that even came close to registering being an upset of the week other than the Colts and the Giants. Why? The Colts were an 8-point favorite, and all they had to do was keep on winning because they got the gift with a Bengals victory at home against the Broncos to have their scintilla of a shot grow wider. But that only one job turned into a 45-33. Drew Lock was 17 of 23, 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. Made him look very, I don't know, Tom Brady-esque, Peyton Manning-esque. Oh my gosh. He also had 5 carries and no yards, but 17 of 23 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Colts defense should be ashamed of themselves. Malik Neighbors, 7 receptions, 171 yards, and he had 2 of those 4 touchdown passes. On defense, you had Drew Phillips and Dane Belton, each with a pick. You even had Amir Smith-Marset, who gave them a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Even the special teams sucked. Oh, I'm sorry. Joe Flacco, 26 of 38, 330 yards. Yes, I said Joe Flacco and down Anthony Richardson. I think for health reasons, they decided to have Flacco start. 2 touchdowns and the aforementioned 2 interceptions. He also had a carry for a yard and a Jonathan Taylor, wonderful effort. 32 carries, 125 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had 2 receptions for 11 yards. Alec Pierce, 6 receptions, 122 yards and a touchdown. And Michael Pittman Jr., 9 receptions, 109 yards and a touchdown. But with this loss, the Colts are out of the playoffs. 8-point favorites, and they get skunked at the Meadowlands. Your thoughts on the Giants beating up the Colts?
I think the Giants forgot that they're the ones who were supposed to take care.
guys want to hear a fucking story?
If you want to have the number 1 overall pick, you cannot win games. I don't think they thought this through. Do you think they thought this through?
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
In order to,
Stop it. Get some help.
you have to suck first. You can't win games, and you have been sucking all year long. You go from the top seed in the NFL draft to now picking 4th if the season ended today. You dropped 3 spots. You must think that Shedeur Sanders is going to fall to you in the 4th overall pick.
Oh, no.
And there is no absolute way that that is going to happen. It's not. It's just not. Looking at this for what it is, and look at the standings. Let's pull up the standings real quick. Being ahead of you right now, we have the Patriots, the Browns, the Will Levis-led Titans. Okay? The Will Levis-led Titans. Nobody else in the NFC is ahead of you. You're still the worst team in the NFC. But you still have the Patriots, the Browns, and the Titans ahead of you. And the Raiders are a partridge in a turnip pear tree away from you, since we are at the holidays. Okay?
Right.
So, looking at it for what it is, and the Bears, and the Panthers would be right behind you after that. But,
oh, Lord.
You think the Browns are going to beat the Ravens this week? Nah. See, they're still going to stay ahead of you with that. The Titans, with either Will Levis coming off the bench or the racist? Nah. Then you got the Patriots and Drake May. No. So, looking at it for what it is, you are going to be, at best, 4th in the draft order now, because you decided to go Tom Brady and get 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, but yet you were so great at your job that you got 5 carries on the day for 0 yards. 5 carries for 0 yards, and you want to sit up here and talk about you like you're Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II.
Oh, Lord.
Not happening. Not happening today. 5 carries for 0 yards and a touchdown. You're lucky you have the touchdown to offset all the negativity on the other side. Because I thought this was the Colorado Buffaloes where he ran for like negative 29 yards. Okay? Because we are total football team. But yes, you should have put in Tommy Cutlets. I think that they would have been better off just keeping Daniel Jones for the entirety of the season, released him in the offseason, because at least he know how to not win so you can get the number 1 overall pick.
Oh, no.
Malik Neighbors, the highlight of the game. Malik Neighbors, highlight of the game. 7 receptions for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Put up the majority of the production towards Drew Lock's inflated numbers. Without Malik Neighbors, he would not have had such inflated numbers, Cole Johnson. But what I can tell you is this. Tyrone Tracy is not the future at running back. Devin Singletary, 5 carries for 21 yards, and people were trying to talk about the beginning of the year how that was a good replacement for Saquon Barkley. That's an absolute joke in itself right there too. But Malik Neighbors putting up the contribution and the numbers that he did on this day. This is why the Giants I don't even know how you would even say it. You can't say improved to 3-13. Screwed themselves by improving to 3-13 is more like it, because that is what happened in this game. You put up 17 points in the 4th quarter. The most production you had done all game. The most production you had done all season long. And you won. And Shedeur Sanders was wearing New York Giants colored cleats before the game that he had the other day against BYU, Cole Johnson. BY mother-fathering you. And now we're looking at the New York Giants. And we're going to sit here and we're going to say that they did something spectacular this past weekend. They didn't do anything spectacular. There's no absolute way that this team did anything to where I can do this for them.
Acknowledge me.
The Giants are getting pretty close to being put in this category right here.
This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation.
And some of you out here might say,
That's terrible.
and that's not a total.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Looking at this for what it is. When it comes to the EP of all EPs, who is best, he is going to agree when I sit here and I tell you that there's no way that you can expect to be successful and get the number 1 overall pick and win game.
Now, what makes it even funnier? Yeah, I saw that magic trick. I love that. Now, now we both have a brother who's a huge Giants fan, and so when I talked to my mentality brother Wise, I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "What is this Giants offense? Where has this been all season?" And the response he had to me was just straight up and so he says, "They only had one job. After lose games, and they can't do that right." I'm like, oh no. So they only have one job, and they can't get that right. I'm like, oh, that's cold. But I'll give the Giants credit. They are now 3-13. But like you said, they're still the worst team in the NFC, but there's 3 teams in the AFC that's considered worse than they are. Meanwhile, you do have the Colts who, well, they had a slight chance, a small chance of making the playoffs. Unfortunately, they can't. With this L, they got eliminated. And now it's all about 2025. Po fellas. And now the game of the week. We could have done this for the Falcons and the Commanders too, but I figured we got to give some love to the Bengals and the Broncos. I mean, this game I did not expect for it to have been the way it was, but it actually was nip and tuck in Paycor in Cincinnati. The Broncos came in needing a playoff victory to clinch a playoff spot. They still need a victory to clinch a playoff spot because they left Cincinnati with a 30-24 L in overtime. Even the games had the same score, final score. But Joe Burrow, I'll get to Joe Burrow later. Chase Brown, running back for the Bengals. I think he had to leave due to injury. He had 20 carries, 67 yards, and 4 receptions for 24. T. Higgins, the dude was boogieing all game long. 11 receptions, 131 yards, and 3. In fact, all 3 touchdowns of Joe Burrow's. He did have a lost fumble, but it's par for the course. Jamar Chase, 9 receptions, 102 yards. Mike Gesicki got involved in things as well. 10 receptions, 86 yards himself. Jermaine Pratt on defense for the Bengals. The linebacker got 5 solo tackles, a pass defense, and a pick. And then we get to Bo Nix, quarterback for the Broncos. 24-31, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. The Jermaine Pratt interception. He also had 7 carries, 31 yards. Marvin Mims Jr. was catching every clutch pass that was tossed his direction. 8 receptions, 103 yards, and 2 of those 3 touchdowns for Bo Nix. He also had -1 yard on the carry. Defensively, Jonathan Cooper, a tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits on the sack and a half. Zach Allen, 2 tackles for losses, 6 quarterback hits, and 3.5 sacks. In fact, he had half of the Broncos' 7, count them, 7 sacks on 15 quarterback hits of Joe Burrow, who was 39 of 49, 412 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown on 4 carries for 25 yards. Your thoughts on the Bengals' victory in overtime over the Broncos this past Saturday?
Just like you said, it was the same final score, the same outcome. The home team won the game. Right here with Burrow, and both home team quarterbacks had 3 touchdowns to lead the team into the overtime win, and both scoring on their 3rd touchdown pass. The big thing here with this game is the first half was very bleak. There wasn't much action in the first half. The defenses were doing their job by containing each other's offenses. Third quarter started to pick up a little bit when you think of the fact that they both started scoring, but by the end of the third quarter, it was a tie game. Back and forth it went in the fourth quarter with both teams scoring touchdowns, and we get to the final, with the Broncos scoring that 25-yard pass from Marvin Mims Jr. With 8 seconds left in the game to tie it up. That was absolutely huge. When you just think about a little over a minute, like a minute and 20 seconds before that, the Bengals had just scored. So, back and forth in the last 2 minutes, this game definitely deserves to be the game of the week. Yes, the Commanders, and the Falcons game went to overtime, and it was a primetime game, and it was the rookie story and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I would say is last week we had the Eagles and the Commanders as the upset of the week that I put it up there for. So they were already in highlighted fashion in the prior week. So, and I did that. I didn't think, even though you were gone last week, you were on the road, I didn't think that you would think that was a homer pick. And had we gone with them being in the prime slots for this week, people probably would have been that was homer pick because it was back-to-back weeks. But I don't make the picks in the slate currently. Cole does, and Cole's been absolutely killing it. And I agree with this, with the upset of the week and the game of the week this week, because of the huge factors. When you think of the Commanders have pretty much been in the chase for the playoffs since the season started. The way they've been playing. Of course, they've had some hiccups here and there, which is why they got 5 losses. They're a young team, but it's still very respectable when you look at teams that are 8-8 or 9-7 still making claims for the playoffs over there in the AFC, because the NFC is now wrapped up except for the NFC South with the Falcons and the Bucks. Other than that, all the wild card spots are locked up, and they're respectably have like a win or 2 more than what the lower seeded teams in the AFC have. So the NFC is a tough conference of the two right now. I feel like they've stepped it back up and taken over again, as the AFC was on top for a while. But looking at it for what it is here with this game between the Bengals and the Broncos, you now put the Broncos in a spot to where they could have clinched the playoff spot this past week, and the Bengals have been eliminated. But instead, we're talking about the Colts getting eliminated by the Giants on this Monday, and we're talking about how the Broncos lost to the Bengals, who have, against all odds and against the wills of so many people, come back to an 8-8 record through 17 weeks with a chance to still make the playoffs in Week 18. And whether they make the playoffs or not, if they win and get to 9-8, that's a huge win right there. Just to do that in Week 18, and we'll do the predictions here in a little bit. But I got to say that T. Higgins put up some big numbers in this game. So did Jamar Chase. When you have 2 weapons like that contributing over 100 yards to offset Chase Brown, who couldn't put up just 67 yards and 20 carries. He kind of had a little bit of a lackluster game, but the 20 carries helped establish the run enough to where, with his 24 receiving yards, along with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase's numbers and Mike Gesicki's, all together between the 3, they had 300-plus receiving yards between the 4 players.
4 of them, right.
So that was absolutely huge. The Bo Nix turnover came back to haunt him. I believe,
it did.
When you look back at everything throughout this game and what really, if you were to pinpoint one thing that really cost the Broncos, unfortunately, a rookie mistake, and it's true because he was a rookie for what he did.
Yeah.
But the Broncos defense to have 15 quarterback hits and 7 sacks like you have here is absolutely insane. When you see numbers
Mm-hmm.
like that, they generally win the game.
Yes.
I thought at
Yes.
first that you meant to put that for the Bengals, but
Mm-mm.
no, this is
No.
absolutely true. I double checked it, and
Mhm.
just to make sure that I was speaking correctly on it, yes, 15 quarterback hits and 7 sacks, absolutely absurd. They punished Joe Burrow. But it
Mhm.
just goes to show Dollar Tree Macaulay Culkin is tough as nails.
Dollar Tree Collie McCalkin. Okay. I think I will never unsee that with Joe Burrow ever again. But yes, I'll put that stat line down there because of that. I was like, this dude threw for over 400 yards and he took that many hits and was sacked that many times. This dude is tougher than sandpaper. I'm like, goodness gracious. But I'll talk about him in another time. But man, it was just when I was watching the highlights of this game, I was just so astonished by it. It looked like it was two evenly matched teams, but they were doing it in their style that it was just crazy to watch. I was like, wow. So you got the Broncos who want to physically dominate. You got the Bengals who want to spread you out, and they were having success against the other. I'm like, how is this possible? And look, I gotta give credit to Bo Nix. I did not think his rookie progression, and yes, I agree with you. The interception he threw to Jermaine Pratt was a rookie mistake. It was a rookie type of read. You know, he rushed, he threw, and he did not account for the linebacker dropping back in coverage. That was a straight up rookie mistake. But I did not account for him to try to rub that mistake off, throw a dime for one touchdown to Mims, and then throw this off-balance throw that landed into the arms of Mims with less than 30 seconds to go in the game. I did not see this from him when he was in Auburn. I did not know he had this type of ability. So I'm like, I'm wowed. I'm wowed by him. But unfortunately, with all the acrobatics and all of the wonderful play, it still fell short. The Broncos still need a W to clinch a playoff spot, but the Bengals still have hope because all they need to do is win, but they got to cross their fingers and hope they receive a couple losses, and the other team that is alive for that number 7 seed, the Miami Dolphins. So you got 3 teams battling for that one spot. Of course, the Broncos can make it moot by winning. But if they lose and the Dolphins win, they're in. If those 2 teams lose and the Bengals win, they're in. And if all 3 teams lose, that means the Broncos will go in. Crazy how that breaks down, but that is your game of this week. And that concludes week 17's action, other than, of course, Monday night. We will get to that momentarily.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
Where my dogs at? It is now time, though, to award the grand champ of Week 17 of Total Football Talk 2024 NFL season. And for his, Drew, the floor is all yours.
So for this week, it was kind of tough. I kind of had to choose an honorable mention based on what we saw in last night's game.
Okay.
I had a grand champ of the week. Cole and I were talking about it yesterday before we even got to today. And then last night happened. And for that, I got to give an honorable mention to Jaden Daniels this week. 24-36, 227 passing yards, 3 touchdowns with 1 interception, 16 carries for 127 mother-fathering rushing yards. Led the team to playoff berth with the overtime win, along with the Hail Mary game that I was at, along with what he did last week against the Eagles. This kid has been absolutely major money for this franchise this year, and that's why he's the honorable mention. It would have been my pick for the Grand Champ of the Week had it not been for this guy. That is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is my choice.
Money.
Because of his career high in a game with passing yardage that took place in this past week. 377 passing yards on 33 completions out of 43 attempts. 3 passing touchdowns and 1 interception. Again, career high and passing yards for the game. Sammy looks happy in this graphic right here. So does JD. JD is major money for this franchise moving forward. Big question here. Will Sam Darnold be with the Vikings next year? I believe that if he beats the Lions and goes into the playoffs as the number 1 seed and leads the Vikings to the number 1 seed, regardless of what they do in the playoffs, you have to give him a contract extension. We have had Sam Darnold on here for the Grand Champ of the Week in more cases this year than we have thought we would have had him as the Snowflake of the Week of years past because of what he did with his prior tenure over there in New York. Sam Darnold has been absolutely lights out. 35 touchdown passes on the year, and 3 of them came from this game right here. Ties Kirk Cousins for the second most touchdown passes in the franchise for this team. Looking at it for what it is, I gotta say, I cannot give it to anybody else for the honorable mention besides JD. And the number 1 pick for the Grand Champ of this week for myself is Sam Motherfather and Darnold.
That's pretty strong. I actually have no arguments about Sam Darnold. He looked good in that game.
Honorable mention.
Oh, I'll get to honorable mention in a sec. But even the interception, I don't even say that was his fault. I think it was a case of the Packers adjusted and Darnold threw a nice pass, but it took an athletic play for that interception. Other than that, and I saw that whole game, Darnold hasn't looked better. Oh my gosh, he was great. Now, for your honorable mention, I remember coming this season that said manage your expectations. Not saying that the Commanders was going to be bad, but I remember what I said to you. I said, you got to measure the success of this team by the success of Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
And the team's going to go as far as he's going to take them. And I wasn't going to rule out playoffs. I was just look at him. Just look at how his trajectory is going to be, and you'll get a gauge as to how well this team is going to be. Could not be better. Could not be better. That dude is nails. I mean, jeez. I'm like, Hail Mary pass, a touchdown pass with 10 seconds to go against a divisional rival. Over time when the team needed a playoff berth and didn't blink, I'm like, dang, this dude he's nails. Yeah. All I could do is just do for number 5 of the Commanders. And if you picked him, I wouldn't have called it homer. I would have said, I can understand it. Because I would too. I mean, 25 yards in the air and 127 on the ground in a game they needed. Yeah.
He deserves this.
Acknowledge me.
He definitely deserves to be acknowledged. There's no question about that. No issue at all. None. And yes, congratulations to Jan Daniels. I believe you're going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. I can't see anybody else. I seriously can't. Now, I have 2 honorable mentions. One of them will be congratulations to Saquon Barkley. You're now in the 2000 rushing for the year club for running backs. So congratulations to you. Also, I think the best game that Baker Mayfield has had in his NFL career, 5 touchdown passes and almost 360 yards and only 5 incompletions.
Against the Panthers.
That's the reason why I had to back off of that. Although it is the Panthers, and I did say it earlier in the program, although it is the Panthers, they still are one of 32 teams that put their pants on, get paid, and are not college teams. So they're pros.
So the middle schoolers.
They're pros. Good Lord. They're pros and they earn a check. Not as big as middle schoolers. Oh, I mean, I'm more than middle schoolers, but they earn a check. But I had to back off because I had to give it to one Joseph Burrow. Good Lord, the Dollar Tree Colin McCulkin.
Dollar Tree McCullough.
Ah, what a nickname.
Home Alone, Christmas time, still in the month.
What a nickname. Yes, 39 to 49, 412 yards, 3 touchdown passes. He also had 25 yards on 4 carries and a rushing touchdown. Led the team to an overtime victory, and that 3rd touchdown pass was in overtime to T. Higgins over the Broncos in a game that they needed just to survive and to still have a chance to actually have a playoff berth. Here is what is amazing about Joe Burrow. He leads the all QBs in yards and touchdowns for the year. He's not going to get considered for the MVP simply because the Bengals are 8-8. And it's not because of him. It's because that defense has been absolutely atrocious. Just look at the both Ravens games. Burrow threw for a combined 800 yards against the Ravens, and they still were 0-2 against them. So it wasn't him. Oh, and here's the stat to me that blows it away. Burrow, the last 8 games, he has thrown for at least 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in the last 8 consecutive games. I mean, this dude is money. This dude is nails. And in the performance that the Bengals needed, he was bigger than that. And he was getting hammered and still pulled forth those stats. So to me, you were true dog, Mr. Burrow.
I like that. And you know, it's this team, it has been willed, you know, from where they were at this rough start of the season to where they're at now because of Joe Burrow. It wouldn't be for him. You know, we speak, you know, of what we say with JD and what he's done for the franchise, the Commanders.
And it's well deserved.
And, you know, the Vikings with what happened with J.J. McCarthy because they moved on for Kirk Cousins.
Right.
You didn't know what their identity was going to be starting the year because Sam Darnold hadn't truly proven himself yet. Like from where he'd been, like, yeah, he had a few good drives with the 49ers when he was there for that one season. And he learned a little bit from Kyle Shanahan, but he's also learning a lot from the Kevin O'Connell system too. I got to say that we had some really good picks for this week between the honorable mention and our actual picks.
Yeah, I agree. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing what Jayton does in the playoffs, bro. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see what Darnold does in playoffs too. Definitely what he's going to do Sunday night. Oh man, that's going to be some. It's going to be some good performances from these wonderful grand champs.
I just don't know who's going to play at quarterback and for how long in week 18 because we really need to beat.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Just to shut them down. Shut them down because it is time to completely shut them down and get this 6th seed locked in and triple our wins from last season. If you are in this locker room, that is the mindset you need to have at this point.
From 4 wins to 12. And yeah, that 12 win would be sweet. Considering the kids were Commanders. And you owe them a W anyway. I agree.
Total football talk.
And now it's time for the 2-minute drill. This is, of course, where we will break down and predict and prognosticate the next set of games to come. Now, we do have a matter of a Week 17 game. Doesn't really matter Santa Clara, California, against the moribund 6-9 49ers. They're hosting the current number 5 seed, but that's simply by straight up default, 13-2 Detroit Lions. Do you see the Lions losing tonight?
It is a road game.
Mhm.
It is a rematch of the NFC Championship from this past year.
That's correct.
But this is not the same teams facing off like there were last year. Both teams have been banged up pretty bad. They're depleted over there at the receiver position and the running back position over there for the 49ers. Brock Purdy has not been able to play truly without his weapons into the level of what we have been accustomed to seeing Brock Purdy play at. So with that being said, even though the Lions are dealing with injuries too, if they're on the defensive side, I'm going to have to go with the Lions with the road win. They're going to get to 14-2 and face off for the division next week again on Monday night. Or no, on Sunday night.
Sunday night. Considering Dan Campbell, how he is, I really believe that he wants to actually have his boys actually go into Santa Clara feeling as though they owe the 49ers a thumping. They owe the 49ers a victory. And that they should take personally what took place in January, where they went there and they came out with an L. And I really believe he wants them to have that mentality of, yeah, we could probably coast and lose, but I don't want that. I want you to feel as though that you're gassed, you're jumped, and you're not looking forward to the mega battle at home against the Vikings. I want you to actually owe this team a thumping. And I think they'll have the right mentality, and I think they will give the 49ers an L. I agree with you. I think they're going to win. They're going to improve the 14-2. Just for the simple, selfish fact for me, I want to see two 14-2 teams meet up Sunday night. Ooh, that's going to be great.
It'd be history.
Yeah. In fact, it already is history because there has never been two 13-win teams that have faced off against each other. Ooh. It
Let
might
alone
be
two
14-win teams. Right. Whew. Man, that's going to be great.
And in the same division.
Yes, and in the same
division.
In the same division.
This is great.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. All right. And we will begin the Week 18 coverage with the Saturday games. And it looks like the NFL wanted us to have the AFC North business taken care of for Saturday, because both games are AFC North matchups. The first on tap, 4:30 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Tonight's, we'll just say Monday night's game, ESPN, ABC will carry that 8:15 p.m. all times of Eastern. That's for Monday. The Browns at Ravens game. The Browns at 3-13, Ravens at 11-5. ABC and ESPN would also be carrying that game. 4:30 p.m. is the kickoff at Baltimore. Will the Ravens become the AFC North champions? Because all they have to do is win, and they are.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't see what the Browns have to offer. And on top of it, the Ravens got beat by the Browns earlier this year in Cleveland. So they will have revenge on their minds. And I think they want to set a statement, and I think they want to set a tone. Let me see who's in the 6th slot right now. The Chargers. I think they want to send a message to the opponent they're going to play. More than likely, it's going to be the Chargers. And if it's not them, if the Steelers actually decide to wet the bed and the Chargers win, the Ravens will face off against the Steelers. We'll touch on that in a sec. But the Ravens, they have revenge on their minds, and I think they want to send a statement to the wild card opponent. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Ravens are going to win. and I think it's not going to be. And it's going to be fun. It's not going to be a fun game to watch, and it's not going to be easy. But they're going to grind them to the dirt. Let's see here.
They're gonna serve that big old L, and all we need to do is to get Devon to do this.
Oh, my brother, testify.
Oh my gosh.
Who's giving them the business?
Now the other AFC North matchup, it features the Bengals at 8-8, hoping for 2 L's of their own on Sunday, but they got to get the win against their arch rival Steelers in Yinzertown or Pittsburgh or Western Pennsylvania. Again, ABC, ESPN will carry that game. 8 p.m. will be the kickoff. The Steelers are 10-6. Who do you see winning this one?
When it comes to the Steelers, they've lost 3 straight games.
Yes, 3 straight.
This is not. It's not looking good for them against a team that's been pretty red hot as far as finding ways to win games, and that being the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
The only good thing for Pittsburgh is this is at home, and the fact they are in the playoffs regardless.
Right.
It's not like they really have to play everybody and risk getting hurt, because what are they truly playing for? I mean,
yeah,
seeding is pretty much locked up, because you were just talking about, with the Chargers having the 6th spot. I think the 5, 6, and 7 they are up in the AFC. Like they do have something to play for, but at the same time, it's like if you're the Steelers and you've lost 3 straight weeks, if you play hard in this game and you win, but you lose a good player or two for your team going into the playoffs, you've lost more than you've won. So this one's kind of tough. I feel like they play this a little bit conservatively, because right now, I mean, they're already the 5th seed in the AFC. The Chargers have the 6th seed, and they're both 10-6. And you're looking at potentially either a 9-8 team, or no, it would be a 10-7 team, and the Broncos win to get in for the 7. The Dolphins, if they won and the Broncos lost, would be 9-8, and the Bengals would be 9-8. So more than likely, regardless, if you win or lose this game, you're going to be the 5th seed regardless. Okay, the only way that really changes is if the Chargers win this week. Right. So I feel like if you're the Steelers, you're playing pretty tough in the first half, but then.
I see what you're saying.
If things start to fall a little bit, then the Bengals start pulling away. You sit TJ and you sit your others like Russell, and maybe put Justin out there and see what he does, just in case you do have to go to him in the playoffs. I think the Bengals win this game, Cole. I'm just, something tells me that with what's been going on the past 3 weeks between with their opponents and how they've lost these games. Yes, they've been against tough teams. The Bengals are tougher than what their record had been leading on this entire year. We've been saying that all year long on this show.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to prove a little bit more, considering that DTMC, QB over there, DTMC, Dollar Tree, Macaulay Culkin. DTMC, he is finding ways to get these wins, whether he's home, alone, or not.
What?
Oh!
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think barring a straight up upset in the Browns-Ravens game, I think it will hinge on how hard the Steelers will go. Because right now they're the 5th seed, and this is how it lays out. They win, they lock the 5th seed down. If they win and the Ravens lose, they lock the 3rd seed down, because they will end up being the AFC North champions. However, I don't think either one of us sees the Browns beating the Ravens, so we think that's off the table. So if the Steelers win, they have the 5th seed. If the Steelers lose and Chargers win, the Steelers will drop to the number 6 seed. Now, as for the Bengals are concerned, they have to win, and they have to be watching. More than likely, they'll be watching the Broncos and the Dolphins. And if those 2 teams lose, the Bengals are in the playoffs. If either one of them wins, the Bengals are eliminated. I think the Bengals, who are coming in off a 5-game winning streak, I may add, I think they are hungrier. And the Steelers, I am not liking how they are offensively. I think they've been solved. I think they've been figured out. And now the weight has gone back on the defense to actually hold teams. And I think they're tired. I think that defense is tired. I'm not saying the defense is bad. I just think they're worn out. And with defenses, if you ask them to do too much, they're going to, and I don't want to say disappoint, but they're human. They're going to have the red light flashing, the danger light flashing, the we need help light flashing. And with this 3-game losing streak, that is what the Steelers defense has been saying. Look, we get what you are offensively, but you need to help us out, offense. So with injuries and with the fact of overuses in play with defense, I think the Steelers can be had again. And I'm with you. I think the Bengals are going to win this game too, because I think they're hungry. I think they want it more. And I think the Steelers, they're ensconced in playoffs no matter what. They're not going to lose a playoff spot. They just might lose playoff seeding, but I don't think it matters to them, personally.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Yeah, I don't think it matters that much to them either.
Yeah. And I don't even think it matters to the opponent they play in the wild card, whether it is the Ravens or the Texans. I don't think it really matters to them. I just think they want to get in, and I think they want to get in healthier than they probably are. I think that's really how it is with the Steelers.
I'm sorry about your Texans, but I know we're going to talk more about them here shortly because
we are.
They look like they're. I'm not just going to let you handle it.
We are. We definitely talk about the Texans. Woo! We go talk about it. What's up, Dante? Congratulations to your Eagles for being the NFC East champs, brother, and congratulations to Saquon for having that offensive line get him 2,000 for this year.
A bigger congratulations I got to give to Dante. Congratulations on becoming a dad.
Oh man, congratulations, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, you a father. Congratulations.
The past few days, having a baby and stuff. So congratulations to Dante and his wife for having a baby over there. So he's been doing that. We served him up a tough L, but he was able to overcome that by having a beautiful baby. So good shout out to Dante for the new kid.
Oh yeah, definitely congratulations to that man. Congratulations on being a father, brother. So happy for you for that. Man, good times ahead. I love that. All right, now we get to all the Sunday slate. And there will not be a Monday night game. That will be the following week. But the Sunday games are as follows, and we begins now. The Panthers at 4-12. They travel to Atlanta to play the 8-7 Falcons. Of course, the Falcons need this game to stay alive for the NFC South crown. CBS will carry this game. 1 p.m. will be the kick. Your thoughts on this game and who you see winning it?
When it comes to this game right here, I mean, the Falcons really need to win it. They need to win it now, and Tampa Bay has to lose. So the Panthers aren't really playing for much.
No,
I don't think they're going to pull a Giants. I think the Falcons will win this game at home and improve to 9. Well, they will be 9-8.
9-8. Yeah, they'll be 9-8.
Finish the year.
Yeah. I agree with you. The Panthers, I mean, heck, they can't really tank. I mean, they're just bad. The Falcons need this game, and I think they will. So, yeah, the pressure will be placed, I believe, on the Bucs. But we'll touch on that later. The Commanders, your wonderful Commanders, they are 11-5. They traveled to the Metroplex to avenge the L they took early this year at home against the Cowboys. Fox will carry this one at 1 p.m. Do you think the Commanders will go for the 6th seed?
Yes, because then you risk having to listen to nonsensical, mouth-breathing Cowboy fans
Oh,
because they beat you twice in the same year that you won the division, and then we have to click this button too many times.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Ain't nobody calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, are you still involved? Delete! 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 Delete!
Surprise, motherfucker.
No! We are not going to have that happen this week
Feeling
or this
good.
offseason. I would not listen to Cowboy fans say, regardless of what happened, we still beat you twice. No! Not going to deal with that because the commies are going to win or it's going to go.
What?
Oh my
Where
God.
is.
He was on earlier.
When you need him, because this is the perfect moment when I need him. This right here, I'm going to say, the
Oh, Lord,
Commanders
no.
will win
Yeah. Yeah.
and improve to 12-5 and triple their wins from last season.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. So goodness gracious. All right, so you don't want the Cowboys to say, well, yeah, even though we were 8-9, we actually were 4-2 in the division, and the only team they couldn't beat were the Eagles. So you don't want to say that, obviously. I get that. But of course, I think for more important reasons, at least germane to this year, I do think they need to battle for the 6th seed and clinch that so they can actually go against the Rams instead of the Eagles. Because I think the Eagles are, even though yes, they know the Eagles better, I think that's a tougher matchup for them. And I think the Packers, I think they'll be rooting for the Cowboys because even though they probably can compete against the Eagles, the far easier matchup for them is the Rams. But yeah, I think the Commanders win this game. I think they will go to 12-5 as well. And and when Dante asked if they play the starts, they are. I think they are. Now, if the game is out of reach, then they'll sit their starters. But I believe the Commanders will start. They'll start their players because they really do need the game because I think they need to be the number 6 seed.
Who's giving them the business?
And speaking of which, the team that they are battling for the number 6 seed, the Packers, who are now the 7th seed at the moment in the NFC playoffs, they are 11-5 as well. They host their arch rival Chicago Bears, who are on a beautiful 10-game losing streak at 4-12 after starting off the season 4-2. It really did go haywire after that Hail Mary in Landover. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Fox has the 1 p.m. kick for that one. All right. Do we see the Bears lose 11 in a row for the year?
In the words of my man,
Yeah.
I believe they do. Especially the Packers want to avenge the loss that they just had happen, their division loss to the Vikings. Improved to 12-5. There's not many teams that are wild card teams that have to be the 3rd place in their division who have 12 wins in a season. That would be historic in itself. It doesn't happen that often. I don't think it's ever happened since because of even when we had 16 game seasons. Definitely the first since we've had 17 game seasons that this has happened. So I think that would be pretty cool and historic. Plus, I think it would be even better and cooler and historic if the Bears lose their 11th straight game since we served them the big, fat, nasty Yeah, fingernail man, that's what you are. Guess what? Bowling balls cover fingernail man's fingernail. But
No.
you know what you can't cover up? Which is served by big old fat old stinker. I rest my case.
You got me with fingernail man. Oh my gosh. For those that don't know, yes, Caleb Williams, he likes to paint. I don't know what the heck he wants on his nails, but
Makes it more aerodynamic.
Okay. I'll let that. I'll let that slide. I know you're being funny. I'll let that slide. I just find it hilarious that their season actually went straight down the toilet due to that Hail Mary skill. I still can't believe that is really what started this downward spiral for the Bears. And yes, I think it'll be historic. You'll have a third place team in a division with 12 wins. I think that will be something. And I think the Packers will. Because they'll fight for the number 6 seed. They of course have to have the Commanders lose to the Cowboys and for the Packers to win to get it. But they will have 12 wins no matter what. That much I do know. Because the Bears just have nothing. They have nothing for the Packers. And they should be ashamed of themselves.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right. Now, CBS will have this 1 p.m. kick. It is the Eagles at 13-3. They, of course, are the newly minted NFC East champs. They host the Giants at 3-13. The Giants need to lose, but they seem to not want to do that. The Eagles, the only thing they may have to fight for, they may have a slight outside chance of a number 1 seed, but I don't think they'll get it. Right now, it looks like the big thing is, will Saquon Barkley get 101 yards to be the new single season rushing guy? That looks like that's the only question really that's on the table for the Eagles because they're ensconced at the number 2 seed. Your thoughts, and who do you see winning this game?
See, this is tough because, this is against his former team.
Right.
So you would think that if there's anybody out there that he wants to do this against, it would be
against the Giants.
The Giants.
Mm-hmm.
However, looking at with what happened against the Commanders, and if the Commanders lose, you'll be facing them again the following week.
The following week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More than likely. Chances are looking pretty good if that's the case, because at the playoff picture, the only way that happens when you look,
I think
basically the Packers are at 11-5 right now. They're both tied. If the Packers win against the Bears, which they will, okay,
yeah, they'll win.
Let's just okay.
They'll win.
And the Commanders lose to the Cowboys, all right. Then the Packers move up to 6, and the Commanders are at 7, and the Eagles face the Commanders at home.
Right.
Okay. Well, in Philly. Yeah.
Right.
So, looking at that for what it is, if you're the Eagles, you want to make sure you have Saquon, regardless, no matter who you're facing.
That's the tough part right there. Yeah.
Because you don't have the bye in the first week. If you had the bye, if you were the number 1 team, that's why getting the number 1 spot is very important.
Means something, right?
Had they gotten the number 1 spot, I would say you go ahead and you play them because you had the first round bye. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But because you don't, you have to kind of find a half a bye or whatever by playing half the game.
Half the game. Mm-hmm.
So Saquon, if you can get 50 yards per first and second quarter, 50 in the first and 51 in the second to tie it or break or whatever you want to do, 102 yards, you got to do it in the first half because you are not playing in the second half. I try to make that deal. And then if Saquon goes out there and he's like 8 yards away from it by the time you get to halftime, then of course you let him go out there in the first drive in the second half.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get it by the end of the first drive in the second half, then you pull him. Regardless, because you're not going to get any better than second. That first is locked up by whoever wins, the division between
the AFC North,
the Lions and the Vikings. And
right
now it's funny that as of right now, until the Lions play tonight, the Vikings are in first.
Right.
Funny.
Mm-hmm. It is funny.
When the Lions win tonight, then they'll be back.
They'll flip flop. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if the Lions lose tonight, then the Vikings are in first until they play each other. And then if the Vikings win, they're definitely in first. If the Lions win, then of course it flips back. But looking at it for what it is, because they would have the tiebreaker, they'd have the pressure over that. The Lions would.
Yeah.
For this one, when it comes to the Packers, when it comes to the Giants and the Eagles, I don't think that Saquon breaks it. I think that what I was talking about, they let him do the first half. He goes in there, whether he's not even close or he comes up with the next. I don't think he gets it. I think that's too much to ask for him to put the load on his body. The fact that he got 2,000 yards like AP did several years ago, like 10 years ago when he did it with the Vikings, that's a huge win in itself, just to get to 2,000 yards. And what Derrick Henry's done this year has been absolutely great too. But it's more important to rest these players because you don't have the bye week in the first round. I think the Eagles still win the game, but they're going to be doing it with like Kenneth Gainwell and others to fill voids where
that's how I see it too.
May play at most the first half and into the first drive in the second half, which I still don't believe he'll play even that much. But they're going to be sitting Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. A lot of these players are not going to be playing that much, if at all. And Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play at all. So, especially based on what happened last week. I have the Eagles winning, but I don't have Saquon breaking the record.
I think I'm with you. I think Saquon won't break the record unless he does like what he did against the Rams, and he did that in the second half. We had like a 60-yard run and a 70-yard run for touchdowns. If he does that in the first half, then yeah. Outside of that, I agree. I think Saquon will be seen pine in the second half because they need to rest him because, well, the Eagles have to play the very next week. And either it will be against the Commanders or the Packers, and both of those opponents will present a challenge to the Eagles. They just will. That's just how it is. In terms of who's going to win the game, the Eagles got this game. The Giants, they are not skilled enough to even come close to the second string of the Eagles. So, I think the Eagles will go to 14-3. Unfortunately, I do not think we will see history be made. Would I want to see it? Yes. I don't think we are.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right. Let's get to this next 1 p.m. game. CBS also will carry this one. The Patriots, 3-13. They host the Bills at 13-3. All right, so the Bills are ensconced in the second seed. Of course, they can't get the number 1 seed. The Chiefs have that sewn. They sewn that on Christmas. No team can come up to number 2 and knock the Bills off. So pretty much what you were talking about with the Eagles, the Bills can afford to do that. And I think we are going to see that, in my opinion. But even in resting Allen and Cooper and Cook and on the other side, Milano and Miller, do you see the Bills beating the Patriots?
Yes, with their backups, because unlike the Giants, the Patriots know how to take especially when it comes to trying to get a top 5 draft pick, more like a top 3, more like a top 1. You do it by taking Instead of being a dumpster pelican led by
Oh my
Drew Lock
gosh.
trying to get wins out here in these streets. Buffalo Bills win with their backups in hand, improved to 14-3. No, they will not get to the number 1 spot, but they'll help the Patriots get a solid top 3 pick.
Yeah, the number 1 seed, that's out the question. But the number 2 seed is out of the question for everybody else. So, yes, the Bills, even right now, the AFC goes through them unless they have to travel the Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. They still might.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right. CBS will have this 1 p.m. kick. The Titans also at 3-13, who are one of those teams that are battling for the number 1 overall. They are hosting the Texans at 9-7, and the Titans will be clad in the old Oilers gear, bringing the Texans into Nashville. All right, your thoughts on this game and who you see winning it?
When it comes to this game right here, and looking at Tennessee Titans coming from the gift that keeps on giving to a grade A racist, I think the Houston Texans have a really good chance of winning this game. They need to turn around and get some type of spark because their momentum has been absolutely shot down the tubes. They have not been playing well. This entire team has been looking like a bunch of dumpster pelicans lit on fire, running around like their heads have been cut off. And they need this win on the road. The Titans are an easy win if they play either one of those quarterbacks that I mentioned. So, Titans will fall to 3-14. Texans will improve to 10-7, in my opinion.
Well, obviously, I'm rooting for the Texans because I root for the Titans the least in the NFL. So, that's where my rooting interests lie. The Texans need this victory. And that's what I'm saying. This week 18, they have the division zone. And they're playing against a 3-13 team. Yes, they're also playing against a team that beat them in Houston. I think they need to send a message to the Titans, and I think they need to send a message to the rest of the league that we're not quite as wounded of animal as we have been. And I think they can do that. I think the Titans are the best formula for the medicine necessary for them to actually rebound. Texans, don't make me regret those words.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, Fox will have this 1 p.m. kick between the other 2 teams of the AFC South. The disappointing Indianapolis Colts at 7-9, who played themselves out of playoff contention. They host the Jacksonville Jaguars at 4-12. Your thoughts on this game and who do you see winning it?
Jags are just as bad as the previously mentioned team. The Colts improved to 8-9, but they will not be in the playoffs as we just learned from this past weekend. But I think they ended on a good note, and this could potentially be one of Joe Flacco's last games ever in the NFL.
Oh, yes, and for the Texans, a win won't improve them to the 3rd seed, so they are stuck at the number 4 seed. Oh, and this just in. First game, wildcard weekend, the Texans will host whoever is going to be the 5th seed. You heard it from him first. Oh, and this game here, the Colts. Unfortunately, the Jaguars have nothing for them. Doesn't matter who they play, doesn't matter how the Colts play, the Colts will beat the Jags.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, the last of the 1 p.m. games, Fox will take this one as well. The Panthers, the Saints at 5-11, they traveled to Tampa to play the Buccaneers at 9-7. A win from the Buccaneers, and they are once again the NFC South champs. Who do you see in this one, sir?
You know, Buccaneers can do it with a better record than what they did recently with the 8-9 record. So I think that we're going to see a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team win, especially when you look at how the Saints have played throughout this year. Don't see them getting the road win in Tampa Bay. It's Tampa Bay's division for the taking. Yes.
Oh, and there is a little extra added motivation for the Bucs too. So if the Rams were to lose to the Seahawks, we'll touch on that game a little later, and the Bucs will win, the Bucs actually would be the number 3 seed. So there's a little bit of extra to play for the Bucks. They win, they're the champs. They lose, and the Falcons win their game against the Panthers, and the Bucks are out altogether. But if the Bucks win, they are no worse than the number 4 seed. If they win and the Rams lose, they're the number 3 seed. So there's some stuff to play for the Bucks. As for the Saints, go back to the drawing board. Man.
Who's giving them the business?
All right, now there will be a few 425 games that will be on tap. The first of which CBS will carry it. 4-12 are the Las Vegas Raiders. They host the 10-6 Chargers. Now, what lays in front of them? They already have the number 6 seed sewn. They can't drop to number 7, even if they were to lose and the Broncos win. That's sewn because the Chargers hold the tiebreaker against the Broncos. So what's in play for them? They win, and if the Steelers the night before lose to the Bengals, they will leapfrog over the Steelers and be the number 5 seed. That is what's in play for the Chargers. And the Raiders, they're one of the teams hoping for that number 1 overall. Your thoughts on this game and who you see winning it?
With this game right here, I feel like the Chargers are going to win this divisional matchup. The Raiders, people are giving the Giants, a hard time this week with the win. They've given the Raiders a hard time with getting some wins here lately too. I don't think they win this one at home. The Chargers need this one more so proceeding in this year's playoffs than the Raiders do. A loss would actually help the Raiders out a little bit more when it comes to top 5 pick, and the win would help the Chargers as far as potentially improving to a better seed within the playoffs. I like the Chargers' chances in this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think the Raiders seem to play the Chargers hard, but I think with Jim Harbaugh, I think he's the type that is like, okay, we need to build momentum as we get onward into the playoffs. And I'm going to be blunt. If the Chargers had the opportunity, if the Steelers lose this game, they have the opportunity to say, okay, and he goes in front of the team. And he says, all right, you lose, we'll go to Baltimore. You win, you go to Houston. What do you guys want to do? They should fight to play the Texans because the Texans are a much easier opponent for them than the Ravens would be. Now, I'm saying this as a Texas fan. I'm just being real. The Chargers match up a lot better against the Texans than they do against the Ravens. And so if that is in play, the Chargers should play hard and they should try to beat the Raiders to become the number 5 seed. That is if the Steelers lose to the Bengals the night before.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, Fox will have this 425 kick. The Rams at 10-6, the newly minted NFC West champ Rams. Thank you, Washington Commanders. They host the Seahawks at 9-7, and because of a lot of tiebreaker situations, even if the Seahawks were to win and actually will match the 10-7 record of the Rams, the Seahawks will be considered. So the division is not up for grabs, but seeding is. If the Rams win, they will clinch the number 3 seed. If they lose and the Bucks win, then that means the Rams will drop to the number 4 seed. All right, your thoughts on this game? Who do you see winning it?
Based on the way the Seahawks have been playing lately, I don't think they're going to win this one. I think they fall to 9-8.
Yeah.
And the Rams improved to 11-6 for playmaker's sake.
I think the Seahawks have been in my estimation. I think the Seahawks down the stretch have been disappointing, and I really believe that they should have put more pressure on the Rams down the stretch, but they didn't. And I think they played below their expectations, and because of it, they're on the outside looking in. And I agree. I think the Rams will beat the Seahawks and sweep them in this season series. The Rams are just a better team, and I think they're hungrier, even with the fact that they have postseason ahead of them.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, this next 425 kick Fox will carry this one. The Jets at 4-12. They have zilch to play for. They host the Miami Dolphins at 8-8, who they have a lot to play for because they got to root for the Broncos to lose. And if the Dolphins win, they're in, no matter what the Bengals did the night before. So the Broncos lose, the Dolphins win. The Dolphins will clinch the number 7 seed. It's just that simple. Who do you have in this one in the Meadowlands?
I think Captain Ayahuasca is going to try to win this one on purpose just to, piss people off. Because
that sounds like him.
There's a very good chance this is his very last
game as a
NFL.
Jet. Oh, it might be, last game period. Yeah, you're right.
Definitely last game as a Jet, I believe.
Yeah.
If he comes back next year, it's not going to be as a Jet. I will be very surprised.
Same.
If he comes in because he didn't mentor Jordan Love, even though he did a better job than Brett Favre did for him. If you've watched that Enigma series on Netflix, they did a really good job with that. But still, with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like he goes out with the win. I could be wrong here, but for Miami, they're lucky to be in the spot of just in the conversation with the 8-8.
I agree.
Like the Bengals. But I don't think they get it done. I like the Bengals' chances. Don't like the Dolphins. I think Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams connect at home and show flashes of what they used to be, and at least for one day for the second time this year, because it's only happened once. This will be the second time of the connection, looking like of years past.
Man, something must be wrong because I'm feeling the same energy. I'm feeling the Jets are going to try to, they're going to gear up. This is going to be their Super Bowl. They're going to play spoiler, and they want to be happy that the last thing they did in the 2024 season was to eliminate the Dolphins from playoff contention. And when they played in Miami, the Dolphins needed overtime to beat them. So this will not be an easy game for the Dolphins to win. And I've been grossly unimpressed with how the Dolphins have played down the stretch too. Grossly unimpressed. The defense has been a little better, but the offense has been blah. And that's not normally what I would expect out of a Mike McDonald type of offense. The offense has been bland. And I don't see their blandness actually overcoming a motivated Jets team. And I think I agree with you. I think they'll be so motivated that they want to knock the Dolphins off. I agree with you there.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, probably the most important game of the slate here would be this one. 4:25 kick. CBS will have it. The Broncos at 9-7. They've been needing to have one win in their end the last 2 weeks, but they failed in week 16. They failed in week 17. Now they get a chance to succeed in week 18. Their opponent, probably the third stringers of the 15-1 Kansas City Chiefs. We already know the starters will now be playing in this game. They'll all be suited up and booted up in civilian wear. So pretty much it'll be second and third stringers that'll be playing in Denver, which that also will probably be a little bit of a downer to those in Cincy and those in Miami. Your thoughts on this game? Oh, sorry. The Broncos, they win this game, they're in, don't matter whatever anyone else does. But they will only have the 7th seed. So they win, they go in, and then they have to book a ticket to play Buffalo in Western New York. If they lose and either the Dolphins or the Bengals win, they're out the playoffs. But if all three teams lose, the Broncos go in and back in by default. Your thoughts on this game and who do you see winning it?
With this game right here, regardless of the fact of the starters sitting or not, it doesn't mean that the coaches are sitting. Okay,
that's right.
You've got backups in there. This team is got a stacked team. This is the reason why they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. And let's not forget, Carson Wentz actually does pretty well when he has a good team around him. So even if he's playing with the backups, I think there's a really good chance that these backups perform with Carson Wentz in this game. They found a way to win this game, disappoint the Broncos because it is divisional, and improve to 16-1 with the backups and Sean Payton and team fall to 9-8, which gives the Bengals a better chance of winning and a better chance of making the playoffs.
Right. You know something? I really want the Bengals to get the 7th seed. I just get the feeling the Broncos will pull it out. I don't know why. I just get the feeling they will. And it's not necessarily because the Chiefs will be probably playing their second seed team. I mean, second stringers. I really believe the Broncos feel as though they could beat this team because when they played them in Arrowhead, they were a blocked field goal from doing that. And so I think they want to improve upon it. And I think they may stumble upon improving on that. So I think the Broncos may play an ugly game and they may not be on their best, but I do think it will be a low scoring win for the Broncos. Am I rooting for that? No. I'm just predicting that because I really want the Bengals to go in because I think the Bengals earned it personally. But I think the Broncos should win this game. It's at home and they won't be playing against Mahomes or any of the starters. Chris Jones will be sitting too in the defense. So yeah, I see the Broncos winning, but it's not going to be easy. The Chiefs are not, and I agree with you. The Chiefs are not going to give it to them either. The Broncos are going to have to earn it. They're going to have to earn it. And I will not be surprised if the Chiefs win, of course, like you said, with Carson Wentz starting, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think the Broncos, they feel as though they can beat this team, and I think they want to prove they can and do it. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Arrowhead game was close, I'd probably say, yeah, I agree with you. I'm rooting for what you want, though. I want what you actually predict. But I don't know, man. I think the Broncos will win it.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, the game at 425 that has absolutely nothing going for it. No anything. It doesn't do anything for the playoffs. The Arizona Cardinals are 7-9. They host we're predicting 6-10. San Francisco 49ers. Both teams, of course, are long since eliminated from the playoffs. And no matter who wins or loses, it doesn't affect whoever does what they do. So who do you see winning probably the most insignificant game of the week?
For the Fairweather fans' punishment, one more time, they take another loss. And this 49ers team falls to 6-11, while the collar duty led quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals improves to 8-9.
Yeah, I think the 49ers, I think they have suffered too much injury. And I think they simply don't have the horses to bounce back. I agree with you. I think they will. Yeah, and I think the down spiral continues.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, from a game that means absolutely nothing to the game that means everything. The 14-2 Minnesota Vikings, they travel to, and we're predicting they're going to be the 14-2 Detroit Lions. So this game will be in Detroit. ABC will carry this one. 8:20 p.m. is the kick from Motown. And here are the stakes. Whoever wins this game, doesn't matter if it's the Vikings or the Lions, whoever wins this game, they will be the number 1 seed in the NFC and the NFC North champs. Whoever loses this game will be the number 5 seed, and more than likely they will have to play either the Bucks or the Rams. Oh, and the number 1 seed, they'll earn a bye as well and play 2 home games after that. So with this Titanic clash, and the reason being the Lions already beat the Vikings and the Lions hold every tiebreaker against the Vikings along with the win they had earlier this year in the Twin Cities. Your thoughts on this game and who do you see winning it?
When it comes to this game right here, this could be a tough one. We've basically been alluding to this all, certain points throughout the episode. And with Sam Darnold doing what he's doing, the way he's clicking on all cylinders against a defense that's been pretty depleted over there with the Lions, it's not the same team that they could have faced off against a while back when they were a little healthier. Ever since Aiden Hutchinson went down, this team has been completely different. I still have the Lions favored to go to the Super Bowl.
I do too.
And still, even with the not having the first round bye, I still like the Bills going to the Super Bowl, even with the Chiefs having the first round bye. So, with that being said, even though it's going to be a close one, and I like what the Vikings have done up until this point, and with the streak they've had going, it's got to come to an end at some point. And I just think with what they've got built, over there for the offense in Detroit, and you're in Detroit. Okay, you're in Detroit. If this was in Minnesota, I might tip the scales a little bit more in their favor.
Yeah.
However, Minnesota's got the momentum.
They do.
I like the momentum that Minnesota has, but I feel like at some point it's got to come to an end. And if you really want to make a run this year, just like when the Lions got smacked in the mouth a few weeks back, I think the Minnesota Vikings need to get smacked in the mouth now. Because if not, then you run the risk of getting there and losing the first game you play in the playoffs, which happens to a lot of teams that haven't been smacked in the mouth early enough. And I think this is the time the Vikings get that done. And then the Vikings lose a close one, fall to 14-3. Detroit improves to 15-3 at this point because we have them winning the Monday night game.
Yeah, 15-2.
So
yeah,
they would improve to 15-2, and it'd be an end to one great season by both teams in the same division.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier with the Packers. Just imagine one team with 15 wins, one team with 14 wins, and one team with 12 wins. That will comprise of a division in a singular season. And I don't think that has ever happened in NFL history. Or two teams, and we believe the Lions are going to win tonight. So there has never been two teams that have matched up. Well, there's never been two teams that matched up 13 wins and above against each other in the regular season. We believe that these two teams will come into Detroit each with 14. That's never happened. So to see history be made and to see a good game be played, oh man. And the game they played in Minneapolis, I think, was a sign of things to come. They're evenly matched. What the Vikings do against the Lions well is they can actually sort of have the Lions go off schedule. That's what the Vikings do well against the Lions. What the Lions do well against the Vikings is they actually can do something that most teams can't against the Vikings, and that's actually be physical against them and actually dictate tempo with physicality. There has been very few teams that have been able to do that against the Vikings. The Lions can do it. And I think that's the only way you can beat the Vikings, and very few teams can do that. The only other team I can think of on the top of my head that can do that would be the Eagles. And I think the Vikings could still have an advantage against them. But yes, I agree with you. If this game was in Twin Cities, I would go for the Vikings. But this game is in Motown. I think the Lions are motivated far beyond just wanting to be the NFC North champs. They did that already last year. I think they'll be happy to be the NFC North champs, but I think they want the number one seed. I think they need that bye because they need to bye more than the Vikings do. And I think they want to have 2 games at home to go to New Orleans. They already won 2 playoff games in 2 playoff games last year, but they needed to win a third, and they had to travel to Santa Clara to do it, and they couldn't. But now, if they have a bye and all they need to do is have 2 home wins, and they get that second home win, that means they're going to the Super Bowl. Oh yeah. And because of that extra motivation and that nasty taste in their mouth that the 49ers gave them, I think the Lions had the edge. And so I believe the Lions will win it. And too bad to the Vikings because they are a tough team. They're a tough team to beat. But I think the Lions have what it takes to beat them. Well, that takes care of the 2-minute drill.
Total Football Talk.
But it does not take care of this. That's right. Welcome to Snowflake of the Week. We get to award the ignominious of the football pantheon. And for that, Drew, the floor is yours.
When it comes to my choice for the Snowflake of the Week, I had to give it to the quarterback of the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers. 12 of 18, 112 passing yards, 2 interceptions. Just like in the photo in the top right-hand corner, it didn't look like he even showed up in the game. Because just like in the top right-hand corner of this graphic, he looks like he's on ayahuasca in the picture. So, he played like he was on ayahuasca. Every single picture, I believe, in this graphic, he is under the influence of ayahuasca. And that is the reason why they are 4-12, is due to his intoxication of ayahuasca. He is my pick for the Snowflake of the Week. And I have no other words to say other than that when it comes to him being the Snowflake of the Week, because we have picked him on several occasions this year because of said things.
Ayahuasca. Well, he earned it for this week for sure.
Yes.
I mean, heck, Tyrod Taylor outplayed him in a quarter. So, yeah, he earned it. He earned it. All right. The following message is going to the Snowflake of the Week for me. Christmas Day. I'm sick as a dog, but I'm healing up. And I got a chance to see the Chiefs beat down the Steelers. Didn't care who won, didn't care who lost. But I was seeing my team having center stage, even having a Super Bowl-like halftime performance by Beyonce. And they, at age 10, was hosting the Ravens. The Ravens, who now were newly minted AFC North leaders with an MVP candidate in Lamar Jackson and a stud running back in Derrick Henry, and a defense that's healing up. Good Lord, Kyle Hamilton, you are a stud at safety. And Kyle Van Noy, people are not talking enough about you. You are a stud, brother. Pass rusher. I was looking forward to seeing this with my team, and they screwed the pooch. 2 points. 2 points. That's right. The Snowflake Week for me, all of the Houston Texans franchise. I don't care if you're the players. I don't care if you're the coaches. I don't care if you're the ownership group. I don't care if you are the executive group. I don't care if you're the ball boy. All of you deserve to have this ignominious honor bestowed upon you for one simple reason. You embarrassed Texans fan on one of the biggest stages there is. The only bigger stages there are in the regular season will be Thanksgiving and opening night and any Sunday night game that NBC carries. Outside of those moments, and you can even select some of those Sunday night games, but Thanksgiving and opening night, I can't think of too many other platforms on an NFL season where you have everybody watching what you do, and they watched you be horrible. They watched you be burnt to a crisp defensively. I mean, you had Lamar Jackson running through you as if you all had cement shoes on the field. And we have 2 of the best pass rushers in Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson. Look, I respect you, brothers. You all can ball. I mean, you all the pass rushing studs of the NFL this year. There isn't a pass rushing duo that's better. But you had number 8 make you look like mincemeat. I mean, ran through you like you were and ran around you like you were hurdles. And I'm not even going to talk about the fact that you couldn't even touch. You weren't even bothered to touch Derrick Henry unless he gained 5 yards. I mean, forget even trying to get him at the line of scrimmage. You didn't touch him until he gained 5 yards. And that's on the good plays. The plays that were in favor of the Texans. I mean, the dude ran 10 yards, 12 yards here, 11 yards there, 9 yards. I mean, he could have chosen the number he wanted to finish with and pretty much did. That's defensively. Offensively, what are you all calling? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I thought the goal of an NFL offense was to take what the opposing defense does and you play against that. You know, you try to see weaknesses against that defense and you attack that weakness. And then if they find an answer for it during the game, then you shift to another weakness that you discovered. But it is as if you found there were no weaknesses to the Ravens defense. It didn't matter what you did. It just was not going to, it wasn't going to fly. So you figured, okay, we'll just screen them to death, wide receivers and running backs. And okay, we'll blindfold CJ Stroud and have him chunk it down the field. It is highly embarrassing that we needed to have a safety be the only points on Christmas Day that really was the determining factor of scoring for a team that has won a division and is going to be in the playoffs. There are 14 teams that get a chance to say, well, we are the 14 best in any given season. I guarantee you right now, I can say to you that the Houston Texans, you are number 14. And that's just in the playoff bunch. There actually may be some that won't qualify for the playoffs that are better than you. And yeah, I could say, well, hey, it's against a team in the Ravens. And you even said, Cole, they don't measure against the Ravens. Yeah, they don't. I knew that in September. I knew that before coming into this game Christmas Day. But what I did not know was the coaching staff was going to coach as if they had no clue. The players are going to play as if they simply were just deflated like a balloon. And the effort was going to be porous all game long. And it literally looked like the Ravens ran a nationally televised scrimmage. Embarrassed is not the word. Angered is definitely the word. But I just simply cannot believe that I'm calling the team that I love an AFC South champion, because I can think of many words, many nouns that would typify what you were, especially on Christmas. Champion definitely is not one of them. In fact, chumps would fit a whole lot more. And I don't want to say this about you, but I just got to be real. Because what was put out there on Christmas Day was absolute slop. I mean, heck, Beyonce scored more points than you did. That's how bad you all were on Christmas Day. And that performance followed up a porous performance in KC, but you at least showed some fight there. And we barely got our way against the Dolphins, and you screwed the pooch there, even though you won the game. So you all have not really been playing all that well, I'd say, for at least the last 2 months. And now your simple ways are starting to catch up with you. You better tighten it up, or it's going to be one and done. Because no matter who you play, Steelers or the Chargers, they actually look better than you guys. And you know it. I'm so pissed off, man.
I don't blame you. But definitely, a great choice with the entire Houston Texans team, because I had to hold back on certain things I was saying earlier because I knew that you needed the floor right here and now.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Man, God, I can't believe this. But woosah.
As long as it's one.
I went to go find one yesterday, but I wasn't able to look at the right away.
Oh, that's great.
So
I love it.
actually, I was getting to
I hope it actually is recording.
And now, episode 70 of Total Football Talk comes to its end. But before we do go, we will offer our parting shots or last thoughts on the week that was and the week to come. And Drew, the floor is yours.
Still can't believe the Giants being stupid and taking the win. I'm still trying to digest that on this Monday as I get ready to knock some other things out in a work day here today. But when it comes to this this situation over here for the NFC North, I think it's great for football that we finally have to see some historic things within the game like this taking place, where you have two teams of this caliber facing off against one another for the division in week 18 with records like these. We've seen matchups come down to these where, like, we'll say for the NFC East, the Cowboys and the then Redskins facing off for the division for the NFC East. Now we can see for the NFC North, which both teams having 14 wins if this does happen, with the Lions beating the 49ers on Monday night. I think this would be, great for football to see this. I'm looking forward to checking this out here in the next, 6 days from this recording time. 5 days from those of you who are listening to this on WQEE 99.1 FM or Real Wise Radio, or watching on BS3 Network. Shout out to all of you who are providing additional coverage for this show and this platform. But other than that, when it comes to the game of football, right here and now, Week 18 is now finally here. Wild card football is underway here a week after that, and we are just a month away, pretty much, from knowing who's going to be in the Super Bowl. A whole lot's going to happen real quick in the next 4 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, you're right about that. You are right about that. I'm looking forward to it myself. I really am. So, we talked about the wonderful things that are going to happen. We have the season end with an NFC North battle, possibly for the ages. And that's how this season is going to end. The fact that the winner is going to be probably the NFC favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. The loser is going to probably might possibly meet up against them in the NFC Championship game. It's quite possible, but they would have to go through 2 road games in order to get there. But that's the great, and it's wonderful. The NFL is great. And it's great that that's how the season's going to end. Of course, is it going to suck that we're not going to feature teams like the Panthers or the Saints or the Colts or the Titans or the Raiders? No. We wish them well. And going into April, we hope that you find the pieces that you need to improve upon the season that was. And hopefully you do. But I actually want to take this time out to actually pay respects. So for many of you that know me, I am a Bryant Gumbel fan. I studied this guy ever since I was 6 years of age. And I've wanted to have a trajectory of having a career like him. Well, little did I know, and strange to me and unbeknownst to me, that Brian had an older brother who actually was in the sports industry himself, his brother Greg. And of course, I got a chance to hear him, as all of you did, in doing play-by-play for the NFL and doing the hosting duties in studio for the NFL and doing the hosting and the play-by-play duties as well for college basketball. And I grew to love his his way of ingratiating the color guy and knowing the sport himself, but not dominating the coverage. And he had this way of in embracing you when you watched him and you heard him. So to Greg Gumbel, you set forth a wonderful platform for those like us to come after you, that we shouldn't limit ourselves. I mean, you called Super Bowl games. You called the Final Four. You showed us all that anything is possible and everything is on the table. And thanks to your example, we can walk boldly knowing that we don't have to limit ourselves to a sport or to an experience. That all we have to do is just be our best selves, no matter what, when, where, or how. So rest in peace, Greg. Thank you for the memories.
As long as it's one.
I went to go find one yesterday, but I wasn't able to look at the right away.
It's great.
So
I love it.
actually, I was getting to
I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Any thoughts you have, sir, before we let the tribe go?
Shout out to those of you in the tribe who were here throughout the show. Whether you were live or during the replay watching this after it's in post-production. Also shout out to Snowman who came through and was rocking and rolling with me on Total Football Talk Extra last Friday to
Thank you,
have
Snowman.
episode
Appreciate
19 and recap the Christmas Day games and last Monday night's game and last Thursday night's game. So shout out to Snowman for being there for that one. Definitely had a good time. I'll have to do it again, but Total Football Talk Extra will be wrapping up soon because next week, we won't really have to have a Total Football Talk Extra because there won't be any games after Sunday. I do believe that in the divisional round there is a Monday night game. So
There's no room?
I'm pretty sure the divisional round there was a Monday night game at least last year that they might bring it back. I mean, because they haven't announced anything for scheduling yet because we don't have all the seeds and everything set. So I'm pretty sure there was a Monday night game last year. If so, there will be episode 20 of Total Football Talk Extra this week to cover the Monday night game and the Thursday night game, of course. But I think we might have one more. Then there'll be a little bit of a break from Total Football Talk Extra for a little bit. So it'll just be back to just having TFT back on Mondays. But we made it happen. We covered all football for the entirety of 2024. This is the last episode of 2024, Cole. And we covered football every single week, whether it was me or you on here. And with other guests as well. Every single week we covered the CFL, the UFL, and the NFL. So hats off to both of us. We did that for 52 weeks this year. This is leap year too, right? So 53 weeks?
Yeah. Well, no, it's just a day. But yeah, 52 weeks. Yeah, 52 weeks. But yeah.
Leap
week. That's okay. That's all right.
I'm still waking up leap week.
I know. I understand, brother.
We call it leap week. That's awesome. But yeah, here 52 weeks for 2 episodes. We started this year with like 17, 18 episodes. Today was episode 70. Rocked and rolled with these episodes this year. This has definitely been fun, but we still have a lot more football and a lot more of these to serve up.
Why the L, Lord? Why? Well, I know that is what my partner is going to be doing, because this Sunday he's going to want to basically shut up the Cowboys Nation and serve them L's all throughout the season. But thank you guys. Thank you, every one of you. If you want to reach my brother Drew, all you have to do is go onto these wonderful social media homes he has. Sertoba_media on Instagram, Sertoba_media on X or Twitter, the underscore Sertoba on TikTok, and of course, Sertoba Media on YouTube. If you want to reach yours truly, all you have to do is go onto floco.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. Well, we thank you for liking, we thank you for sharing, we thank you for subscribing, and we thank you for hitting the notification bell, and we thank you for all of your thank yous and well wishes from the tribe and from everybody who listens and watches Total Football Talk. Well, for Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always, you got to play until the whistle blows.
And as always, stay safe out here in these streets.
See.